Hello everyone, hope you're all staying safe and home. Today in this video, we will discuss about the clinical presentations of COVID-19 cases, the risk stratification, the diagnostic and other molecular and immunological approaches in the detection of COVID-19 infection, and some triage guidelines in the COVID-19. Here we go. So as far as the clinical presentations of COVID-19 patients is concerned, so the clinical presentations of COVID-19 is continually evolving, as this time the most of the information comes out of the China and other various countries. The most important signs and symptoms are detailed here in the graph. Here we go. Most common signs and symptoms of majority of laboratory confirmed cases, which has been reported from the China and other countries as well. These symptoms has been presented here in a graph. So here we go. So this patients, so at least 7.9% patients are reported with fever and dry cough. 67.7% of patients with fatigue at 38.1%, sputum production 33.4%, dyspnea 18.6%, myalgia 14.8%, sore throat 13.9%, headache 13.6%, chills 11.4%, nausea or vomiting 5%, nasal congestion 4.8%, and diarrhea 3.7%. Although the various symptoms are resembled with the flu or cold, but there's one thing, that is runny nose. COVID infection seems rarely cause a runny nose. So in COVID-19 patients, so runny nose is a very rare symptom till now. So majority of cases have a fever at some point in their disease course. It has been found by one of the studies that only 44% of patients were febrile at the time of diagnosis, which represents the diagnostic challenge associated with a very low clinical presentation. So anecdotally, it has also been found that the olfactory taste and olfactory taste disorders has also been reported to be associated with COVID-19 infection. In Italy, we have seen that 64% of cases have reported and developed the olfactory and taste disorders, which suggests us to likely a true symptom of COVID-19, not simply an anecdote. So in summary, we can say this is not just one symptom or the set of symptoms which can reliably diagnose or exclude the COVID-19 infection, but it's clear that the cough, fever, and fatigue has been very common symptoms of COVID-19. But there are other less common symptoms like the nasal congestion is there, the sore throat, and the typical upper respiratory infections has also been reported, but that are very less common, and that may suggest the alternate etiology. Apart from that, as I have already mentioned, that the children's infected with COVID-19 infection are less likely require the hospitalization and ICU admissions as compared to the adult counterparts. But the difference in the disease severity has is actually currently poorly understood yet, but it is under active investigation. So if we talk about the risk stratification, so it is about the comorbid conditions that have been associated, which have the prognostic implications for patients with COVID-19, like cardiovascular disease, cerebrovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. Obesity has also been found to be linked with COVID-19 infection susceptibility. Here we go. So this is a summary of a large study of patients in late 2019 and early 2020 demonstrated the above these comorbid chronic conditions as having many folds higher risk for fatality in case of COVID-19, which is confirmed by RT-PCR. In addition, we can see the age above 60 years has demonstrated to be an independent risk factor for COVID-19. It's worth noting that the elderly patients are also more likely to have these comorbid conditions. So we can see here the case fatality rate has increased from dramatically from 0.2% to 14.8% with increasing age from 10 to above 80. Uh, Apart from that, the patients who have the comorbid conditions this hypertension and type 2 diabetes, they are more susceptible for the COVID-19 infection, and they have a higher risk for fatalities. So the patients who have the cardiovascular diseases have higher of 10.5% risk for fatalities provided they are the laboratory confirmed COVID-19 patients by RT-PCR, uh, followed by diabetic patients 7.3%, then chronic respiratory disease 6.3%, then hypertension 6%, cancer 5.6%, and other comorbid conditions which are accounted for 0.9% of these uh, COVID-19 infection. 0.9% of these are susceptible for this higher case fatality rates. So elderly age has been found to be an independent factor for COVID-19 infection, while the precise age group, it is clear that older a patient is, that means above 60%, above 60 years of age, the higher their mortality and ARDS risk is. In addition to the increased case fatality, older age has also been associated with increased need for ICU admissions. So it is worth noting that although young people are commonly thought to be unaffected or mildly affected by COVID-19, still 38% of all patients requiring hospitalization due to COVID-19, and that patients are still age group between 20 to 54 of age group. So apart from that, the patients on immunosuppressive medications are theoretically considered to be at high risk for COVID-19 infections and for more severe complications as well. Still, a majority of data has lacking, but we know this requires a. So, as far as the molecular diagnostic assays are concerned in the COVID-19 infection, so most of the SARS-CoV-2 tests utilize the RT-PCR, as you might have heard about it. So, it utilizes the RT-PCR against the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, the spikes, the nucleocapsids, and the ORF1ab transcriptase. So, this RT-PCR utilize the respiratory samples like sometimes the nasopharyngeal swabs, sometimes oropharyngeal swabs. So this RT-PCR is very specific for this COVID-19 infection detection. So it is considered currently as the gold standard of diagnosis in COVID-19 infection. As far as the sensitivity of this RT-PCR is considered in this COVID-19 infection, so it is comparatively with the CT findings, the clinical suspension of CT findings, it is comparatively low, and that is 70%. So if we take into account this 70% sensitivity of RT-PCR, so there is a higher likelihood of the false negatives. So to rule out that false negatives, if the clinical suspension still exists there, despite getting the result of the initial test as negative. So WHO, the World Health Organization, has recommended the resampling and retesting from multiple sites from the same patient, which has from the same patient. So multiple companies also developed the isothermal nucleic acid amplification tests, the same the same technique which has been used for the rapid influenza and strep tests against the SARS-CoV-2. There are also other systems like CRISPR-based systems that has been utilized in the COVID-19 detection. So one is from the Broad Institute of Technology, so that is the Sherlock system, and they are in the process of validating their Sherlock system against the SARS-CoV-2 detection, and they are working on the like ORF1 AB genes. The second is spike and nucleocapsid genes. And the second is, while the Mammoth Biosciences from the University of California, so they have already validated their detector system, that is also a CRISPR-based system for the detection of this SARS-CoV-2, and they are employed against the nucleocapsids and RNA-dependent RNA polymerase transcripts and or genes, we can say. And so these are the systems that have been employed while the detection of the SARS-CoV-2 infection. So these are some CRISPR-based technologies and other molecular assays that has been utilized during the pandemic for the detection of this infection. So moving towards the laboratory findings or laboratory diagnostics of COVID-19. So the hallmark of the COVID-19 cases thus far reported has been found to be lymphocytopenia. Lymphocytopenia has been reported in 83% of cases, with elevated CRP in 61% of cases, thrombocytopenia in 36% of cases, and leukopenia has been reported in 33% of patients. But less commonly, these elevations were found in ALT, AST, CK, and D dimers. These are the less commonly findings as have been reported yet far, but a strong push has been made for identifying the laboratory markers which can predict the disease or which can be used as a clinical predictors of disease. Now, this elevated procalcitonin has also been reported to be associated with the severity of with the higher severity of COVID-19 infection thus far. Now, as far as the imaging is concerned in this COVID-19 infection, so it is the CT scan has been advised to a large cohort of patients for the detection, and the abnormal lung findings has been reported in most of the patients. The common patterns which has been detected in the CT scan is ground glass opacities, some crazy pavings, and some vascular enlargements. In fact, so these findings are all very consistent with the viral pneumonia, but they also involve the bilateral lungs as well. The laboratory confirmed cases of COVID-19 has been categorized into various categories now. The first is mildly ill patients. They have subjective low fever, low grade fever. They have nasal congestions. They have body aches. They have headaches. They have sore throat. Second category is moderately ill patients. They have high grade fever. They have shortness of breath, dyspnea. They have dehydration, chills. And the third category is severely ill patients. They have symptoms including the severe dyspnea and the dehydrations. And the fourth category is critically ill patients. These critically ill patients have very frank respiratory failure. They have shock and they have multi-organ failure as well, and that is very difficult situation. That is the very last stage of this COVID-19 infection threat.
So here I am presenting a diagram, so which is this diagram is not meant for the treatment decisions, and this is purely a example of a method that has been used in various triaging institutions and various fever clinics across the globe. So in first case, if we will see that if the patient is suffering from the chills or throat or cough, but the dyspnea has not been reported, then the patient are advised to go for the CBC and CRP. If the fever has not been reported, and then we should look for the absolute lymphocyte count in it. If the lymphocyte count comes out to be normal, then measure first should be taken care of. Under measure first, here comes the home care, and oral azithromycin or amoxicillin should be taken. In second case, if if the dyspnea has not been reported but the complete complete blood count or CRP comes out to be somewhat abnormal and the fever has been reported. If the fever has been reported, then go for the absolute lymphocyte count, and if it comes out to be less than 1100 microliter, then go for the chest CT scan for the detection of respiratory viruses. And if the respiratory viruses has been detected but there is no viral pneumonia, then look for the other caps, that's community acquired pneumonia. And if it has been found, then go for the major second. Under major second, there is a regular cap treatment and transfer to undesignated hospital or discharge home. In third category, if the viral pneumonia has been detected in after the CT scan, after the respiratory viruses has been detected, and if the viral pneumonia has also been reported, then we should look for the major third. Under major third, there comes the isolated observation, SARS-CoV test, and respiratory quinols plus arbitol should be given to the patient. In fourth major, if the dyspnea has been reported along with the chills or throat or cough, and the complete CBC count and complete blood count or CRP and the fever has been reported, and the chest CT scan has also been reported, the virus has been detected in the chest CT scan and viral pneumonia has also been detected, then look for the major 4. Under major 4, there is a supplemental oxygen and admission to an isolated ward plus arbitol plus pneumoxin or linezolid. And fourth case and the third case, when the test is done SARS-CoV, and if it comes out to be positive, then we should go for the major 5, and major 5 is ultimate, that is transferred to designated hospital which has been designated for the COVID-19 patients. So make sure this is not for the treatment purpose.
So this was all about the today's video. Hope you have enjoyed the video and liked the video. So stay safe and stay home till we meet in the next video. Till then, thanks everyone.